Hey everyone, my name is Jennifer Woods, and welcome to my channel. Tonight's leading story is on a multiple murder at Packanack Lodge, the same lake where 5 years earlier a killer went on a similar rampage. The victims include a respected police officer, a local man who was struggling with mental health issues, and at least 6 teenagers just looking for a fun couple of weeks at a counselor training retreat. There was one survivor who has been hospitalized, and a young man who is still missing. Friday the 13th Part 2 opens with the death of the final girl from the first movie. You might remember her name was Alice. It's 2 months after the events of the first movie, and she's alone in her house, which might be an apartment, it's hard to tell. She's dreaming about the death of Mrs. Voorhees and reliving the nightmare. Her mother calls to check up on her because she's worried. Alice says that she's trying to move on with her life and wants to be left alone. Thank you very much. But it turns out that being all alone in an empty house is the worst thing she can do at that moment because someone is stalking her. Then again, this is a horror movie. The house could have been packed full of people, and she wouldn't have been any safer. It just feels aesthetically more dangerous because there's no one else around as she takes her shower and then answers another phone call that's just dead air this time. She notices that the kitchen window is open and goes over to close it when a kitten leaps through the window, lands on her table, and starts meowing while still licking its lips. That's one talented little feline. It's apparently a stray cat. Alice seems a bit put out but makes the safe assumption that the cat would like to be fed. So she goes to the refrigerator where she finds Mrs. Voorhees' head. Now that's something the cat might like to eat. But instead Alice starts to scream and someone comes up behind her and I won't give the gruesome details. Let's just say that she doesn't survive the encounter. Cut to the opening credits. And now we skip ahead 5 years. A boy and a girl, Sandra and Jeff, who look to be between the ages of 16 and 20, are riding in a truck down a country road. I've read that in real life, the actress playing Sandra was about 16 at the time, though she looks younger than that, actually. And let's admit it, she was way too young to be playing this role. It's not a PG role, we'll just say that. The young man looks a lot like John Travolta and also like Bon Jovi. He was played by Bill Randolph and was about 26 at the time of filming, so much older than the actress playing Sandra. They stop to make a call at a payphone. They're talking to someone named Ted. In the meantime, their truck is being towed. They chase after the truck and eventually find out it was just Ted playing a prank on them by having someone pretend to tow their vehicle. Nice friend. The three of them head to Packanack Lodge for a 2-week counselor training event. They find a sign for Camp Crystal Lake on the side of the road, and this prompts a discussion on the eerie fact that the spot they are traveling to is on the same lake as the doomed Camp Blood. So already their future is looking pretty grim. At the lodge, we meet Paul Holt, who appears to be the trainer, a young woman named Terry who likes to wear short shorts and go skinny dipping when she's not chasing after her little dog Muffin, Vicky, who will eventually go looking for a little action with a guy named Mark who's in a wheelchair due to a motorcycle accident, and there's also a creep named Scott who can't stop harassing Terry. And then there's Ginny, who arrives late. She's Paul's assistant by day and lover by night, though don't expect more than a little bit of kissing between them. Ginny is played by Amy Steele. Around the campfire that night, Paul tells the counselors about the legend of Camp Blood. There are rumors that Jason Voorhees, the kid who allegedly drowned, prompting his mother to go on a killing spree years later, has been alive all of this time and living off the land. Is he out there looking to avenge the brutal death of his mother? Shortly after Mrs. Voorhees' killing spree, the one survivor went missing and was never found. That would be Alice. We as the viewer already know she's dead, but nobody else does, so that makes us a bit special. After scaring the young men and women half to death, Paul says he's just joshing them. Jason's not out there lurking, but don't dare even think about setting foot on Camp Blood. That's forbidden territory. Which means that Sandra now finds the spot incredibly alluring and persuades Jeff to go investigating with her. Over the course of the next hour or so, Sandra and Jeff get picked up by a police officer who catches them trespassing at Camp Blood. Paul punishes them by taking away their right to a second dessert. What a tough guy. He also tells them they have to stay behind while the others go out for a night on the town. This turns out to be a harsher punishment than Paul bargained for, since every single person who stays behind will go on to meet a bloody end. It's also the end of the road for Crazy Ralph and that police officer who got Sandra and Jeff in trouble. Will Paul and Ginny make it to the final credits? You'll have to watch the movie to find out. This movie includes short shorts, skinny dipping, pot smoking, a game of chess, 2 handheld gaming devices, a cute little dog who we think is dead for most of the movie but might not be, a young man bothering a pretty girl and trying to get with her, a gratuitous sex scene, the tacky killing of a character in a wheelchair, a female protagonist who is a future psychiatrist in the making and therefore understands the deviant mind in a way that might help her survive this ordeal, and of course, a cliffhanger ending. Here's a fun fact. Sandra's brother Rob plays an important role in the 4th film. We get to know her a little better as a human being by seeing the impact her death has on a family member, and I appreciated that. These characters aren't just part of a tally. Tragedies like this occur in our world far more than we'd like to acknowledge, and even once is too many times. And when it happens in real life, it's heartbreaking, so we can't pretend it's not tragic in fiction as well. I find myself thinking about the characters and wondering if any of the others had siblings. Maybe Terry had 2 sisters. Maybe she was a middle child who was always looking for ways to get people's attention. Maybe her dog was her one constant source of it. Maybe Mark had a girlfriend and was just pretending to be single so that he could get with Vicky. It's still awful that Jason stooped so low as to kill a guy in a wheelchair, but that doesn't have to mean Mark was a nice guy. He still didn't deserve what happened to him. None of them did. It would just make him more of a human. Maybe Ginny and Paul were half-siblings who met as adults. Seriously, I was not getting a boyfriend-girlfriend vibe from them, more like secret lovers. And that could be because they were co-workers, but they clearly knew each other before the training event began. Where did they know each other from? They do look like Kathy and Chris from the Flowers in the Attic series, don't they? I wonder what the counselor's loved ones would say about them if this was an article in a newspaper instead of a movie. I imagine there might have been some family members who warned them about camping so close to the infamous murders, and I'm sure that must have caused tremendous guilt for the survivors, even though at the end of the day you can't live someone's life for them, and you can't live your life in fear either. It's just an absolute nightmare when something like this happens, and since this is a horror movie, right from the start, the odds were against them. I wouldn't say this is my favorite movie in the series, but I did prefer it to the first movie for some reason. I just got more invested in the characters, I guess. Maybe Ginny was more engaging. Maybe there just seemed to be more going on, I don't know. I tend to like sequels better than originals, I'm not sure why that is. I would rate this movie a 4 out of 5 stars, and yes, I am grading it on a curve. Well, that's all I have on this story for you. Have a happy Friday the 13th, and stay away from Camp Crystal Lake. Don't make Crazy Ralph get on his bicycle and come out looking for you. Have a great day, everyone.